Hey everyone, it's Sadie. Welcome to BookTube. I am currently uploading my knitting podcast. Everything is going on over here, and I'm going to try and summarize what I read in May as well as what I got in May in terms of books, because there aren't that many. So basically, I'll show you without showing you the spines. This is what I read in May. So get ready, because it's a series. Started off with The Black Prism by Brent Weeks, which is the first book in the Lightbringer series. I read these in tandem with my husband, who is listening to them in Audible format. I picked this one up used at a library used book sale. I think I actually only bought one full price, so yay. And this is the story of the Giles, and we have Kip. I want to say it's Kip. Is it Kip? It's been since May. I know it's Gavin Gile, and there's Dazen Gile, and there's Karis, and why can I not... I had this problem because I couldn't remember who Fitz was, and yes, it is Kip. Okay, so Kip is our main character, and I had trouble remembering Fitz was the main character in the Assassin's Apprentice series by Robin Hobb. Honestly, I can remember everything about them but their name. That happens quite frequently. So our main character, Kip, is the illegitimate son of the ruler, shall we say, the main person, the emperor, the prism. And the prism basically controls all of the known land, or the kingdoms, and rules over the colors, which also have their own satrapies, which are considered to be zones. This is a highly political book. There's a lot of political intrigue, there's a lot of where the heck did that come from, and twists and turns and things you don't expect to happen all the time. The first book was the weakest book to me. It was boring almost, because it takes so much time to set everything up, except it smacks you in the end. You start getting to know everybody, and then it smacks you in the end. We're basically following Kip as he is trying to figure out what to do. We meet his friends. He is trying out for the Blackguard, which is an elite fighting force that works for the Prism. There's a magic system, and people can wield magic based on color. It is very in-depth, as you can tell by just the general size of this book. So this is your basic setup book, and it takes a while and whatever. And then you get to the second book, which is The Blinding Knife. Where we get more into the political intrigue as we see Kip continue on trying to get into the Blackguards. His friend, Taya, she is also trying to get in. She is a former slave. She has the cut ear, which denotes slavery. She can control a specific color that isn't considered a color. It is considered below the color spectrum. People barely think it exists. So she's very special. And we just continue on with all the political intrigue and the insanity into book 3, which is the biggest of all the books. This guy is the most massive, and it throws the most curveballs at you. I read it the quickest, I think, which speaks to how good it's written. This was a remainder. I got it for $5 at Barnes & Noble. The other one I got on sale, I think it was Amazon, and then I paid full price for The Blood Mirror, which is book 4. I can't really tell you much about the Broken Eye, which is so-called after an assassin organization that runs underground of everything, and how the Broken Eye play into everything, but holy crap, there's so much going on. if you like worlds that are super involved and they just suck you right in, there's a lot of political intrigue and there's a lot of things you got to know and a lot of things you got to remember, you'll like this. Then book 4, The Blood Mirror, which was really heavily anticipated. We see more with Karis, who was a blackguard at the very beginning. Things happen in her life and they change, and I can't do any spoilers, so this just has a lot to do with Karis. And as things progress, weirder things keep happening. More stuff gets revealed to you. The 5th book is slated for release in 2019, so here's to hoping. I am actually going to wait until it's in softcover so it matches, because that's who I am. They have to match. My husband will probably get the Audible version and tell me everything that happens anyway. But really enjoying the series, really enjoyed the series. Now I know Emily Fox, Books with Emily Fox, she had said when she read The Lightbringer, or The Black Prism, the first book, that she found Kip's obsession with women disgusting, or not necessary. And I will agree, there are some sexual parts that are not necessary. There are some parts that are written in and I'm like, okay, why is that there? Why do we need to know about this? It's superfluous. Like, I like a lot of the stuff that's going on here, but there are some of the sexier things that I'm just, why is that there? It's not particularly well written either. However, the rest of the books make up for it. In terms of him always staring at her boobs and stuff, which was another thing, I think that's supposed to emphasize his teenagerliness. I'm not sure it comes across the best. It does get better in the following books. It does get less like that. And the women characters are extremely strong and hardcore. So I think if that is a problem for you, or you don't like that, particularly in fantasy, it happens so much, it does get less and less as the books progress and we see Tia and Karis really, and the white, Aurea, they call her the white most of the time, that we see them come to the forefront. We see the women running the espionage. We see them, we get to see the backstories and how powerful they truly are. So I think that it's a knee-jerk reaction to the first book, and I think if that bugs you, or if that really throws you off, or you were put off by that review, which I slightly was. I was like, oh, I have all these books and I don't know if I want to read them, but I'm reading them with my husband. I will persevere. If it gets too much, I'll just stop. It actually gets less and less throughout the books. So if that's an issue for you, keep going. And then the last book I finished in May, I'm going to make up for it because I haven't even finished my first book in June yet. Last book I finished in May was Hell Train by Christopher Fowler, who is a horror writer as well as a mystery writer. I haven't read any of his mystery. I've read a crap ton of his horror. I love Nyctophobia. I love Disturbia, Darkest Days, Roof World, Ruin. Pretty much anything I've read of him, I have enjoyed. I did enjoy this particular book. It was not as good as Nyctophobia, and I'm not sure if this one is earlier or later than that one. The right of the author to be identified as the author of this work has been assigned in accordance with the Copyright Act of 1988. Okay. 2012. So I think Nyctophobia is more recent than this one. Still very good. So the premise is, we have this man who is come to the UK to write so this takes place in like the 60s, to write basically a horror film, but in the style of the Hammer horror films. And if you're a fan of the Hammer horror films, Bela Lugosi, Boris Karloff, Christopher Lee, you know, all those good old school, really poorly produced black and white horrors, Vincent Price. So he's been commissioned by this UK company to write this script. So he goes to this house, he sees a board game called Hell Train, and thinks, huh, I'm gonna write a story about that. And then the rest of this is basically the story that he's written, which is about these different characters who board a train to escape things. In one case, the couple is escaping. They've just met. The girl has fallen madly in love with a man, and they are escaping her family's inn and her betrothed. Another couple is escaping from, no, they're not escaping. They're trying to get home from being on a mission, and they've gotten lost. And there's a priest and his wife. And so as they board the hell train, there's no actual end destination. They can't find it. It's been wiped off all the maps. And they don't actually know that they're on the hell train. And so insanity ensues. There are demons trying to eat people. There are mobs. There are dead soldiers. It's crazy. There are crazy monsters around every corner trying to eat them. There's a bug that really freaked me out. Basically, bad things happen to test you on the train, and they go to the conductor, and the conductor says you have to pass these tests, or the train is going to keep you forever. Basically, these people who are stuck on this train, all the other passengers who are not them, are already in hell, and this is their hell, is to keep riding the train. So, yeah, as you get the history of the train, and they're traveling through some random Snersniskovia, you know, like made-up places in Transylvania and such, to get somewhere, and there's a war, and it's Austro-Hungarian. It's all kind of crazy. If you like Hammer horror films, this is a great book for you. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. It just wasn't as good as Nyctophobia, which set the bar really high. In terms of, did I enjoy it? Was it a quick read? Yep. Would I read it again? Possibly. I keep all my Christopher Fowlers because I kind of love him for pulp horror. I mean, look at that cover. That's one demented cover. So that's everything I read in May. Then in terms of books, I got Banjo for Dummies because my husband got me a banjo for my birthday. So I'm currently reading this and trying to figure out everything. It's very self-explanatory, but hey, if you got a banjo, you got to learn how to play it. I picked up, because I made an order to Amazon for something. I ordered something from Amazon, and I was like, oh, I'll just throw a book in there. And the book I threw in was Thomas Old Heuvelt's Hex, which I've heard a lot of good things about, and I will look past the Stephen King blurb on the front because I'm not exactly a fan of him. Robin Hobb calls it chilling, and this is about, yeah, a witch that walks through this little town, and bad things happen. And quite frankly, so I'm thinking about doing this thing like Portal to the Pages does Around the World. She's doing the Around the World where she reads translated fiction from all these countries. So I'm going to try and do it. I'm going to try and do an Around the World in horror. So I'm going to be starting to pick up some random ones, and this one would be really good for, where is he from? Dutch. Netherlands. The Netherlands. But there are some really good ones to pick up. I know Japanese has a bunch. I've been looking into them, and I've actually started like a list of things to pick up. But I think a horror around the world would be super fun to do. And then the last thing I got was the book of the month for May. I skipped June, didn't like anything in June. And I picked up The Mars Room by Rachel Kushner. I have no idea what this is about anymore. It's literary fiction about a woman and her son, and something or other happens. I don't really know. It intrigued me, which is why I picked it up. It's not particularly big, which I also enjoy. So there you have it. Those are the 3 books I picked up in May. Now I did go to the used bookstore this month, so June will have a lot more to show off to you. But in the meantime, that's everything I read in May and everything I bought in May. So this is technically the full May update. I don't know what June's going to look like, but here's to hoping I have a little more to show for myself. Although I did read a really big series, so I'm pretty pumped about that. See y'all next month.